So I have some breaking news for you. I mean that as in, like, about 2 minutes ago, right before I'm coming on air, I checked the old Twitter feed, and I get this. So Ken Klippenstein, who's a journalist, he works for TYT, he says, here are the kinds of SCOTUS rulings we have to look forward to for the next 30 years at least. And then, boom, all at once, from Bloomberg, the Supreme Court threw out a finding that a Colorado baker illegally discriminated when he refused to make a cake to celebrate a same-sex wedding. And then Washington Post as well. Supreme Court throws out lower court decision that allowed undocumented teen to get abortion. Goodness gracious. So we have, two decisions here that go against the left. On the undocumented teen getting an abortion one, I don't know how they could possibly conclude that that is not allowed. So you're going to dig into the immigration status of somebody before you give them health care? That strikes me as very brown shirty. So if you go to get some sort of procedure, get some sort of service done, what else are they allowed to deny then to an undocumented teen? If they're allowed to deny this, are they allowed to deny, I don't know, antibiotics? Are they allowed to deny surgery? I don't see how you can make a distinction between the kind of health care that's allowed to be given to a legal immigrant or a citizen versus an undocumented immigrant. That strikes me as very bizarre, and I don't know on what legal principle they did that. Now, admittedly, I haven't had time to read any of these pieces yet, and there will no doubt be more details in there that shine a light on some of these things that I'm questioning about here, but the news literally just came out, so I didn't have time to read it. But at face value, that seems like a pretty ridiculous notion. Now, to the idea that, a baker, usually a fundamentalist Christian baker, doesn't have to, bake a cake for a gay couple for a marriage, the logic of that kind of a ruling, I don't see how one can make a reasonable distinction if you open that door on issues of race, for example. I mean, that used to be the same argument made on racial grounds. In the segregated South, they would argue, we don't serve your kind around here. And then if you press them on it, the people wouldn't just come out and say, like, oh, yes, I am a racist and I don't want to serve them. No, they give you rationalizations and they say stuff like, hey, in the Bible, the races are separate, and we think that that's the proper order and way of things. So if one can have a genuine religious belief that the races should be separate, then why wouldn't a business owner be able to deny some sort of service to somebody who's of a different race than them? The point is, it's the same logic at work. If somebody says, I don't want to serve them, and that's my right to deny service, that's the same thing whether it's denying service to somebody of a different race, a different religion, a different gender, or in this case, somebody's sexual orientation. Now, I do have to say, though, there's a little bit of a twist in the story here. So take a look at what the ACLU says. Breaking, SCOTUS reversed the decision in Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission based on concerns specific to the case. The court did not rule that the Constitution gives a right to discriminate. Okay, so that's good news, because what they're saying is here, it's not a legal precedent that they're setting, which means, you're not opening the door to rampant discrimination based on arbitrary characteristics left and right. Rather, for whatever reason, the way that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission handled the case, they didn't do it appropriately, so it appears like they're trying to ameliorate some wrong, basically based on a technicality. So for whatever reason, maybe the Colorado Civil Rights Commission was too punitive in cracking down on the bake shop, so they're trying to reverse that while at the same time not saying we're setting a legal precedent that allows just anarchy and discrimination based on any arbitrary characteristic whatsoever. So, again, you're going to have to get more into the details of that case to figure out exactly the specifics of what just went down. But at face value, these are not good Supreme Court decisions, and this is what happens when you have an overwhelmingly conservative court, which we have now. So Ken Klippenstein is indeed correct when he says this is the kind of stuff that we have to look forward to for decades in the future.